The tariff war is going to starve all of us, and I actually suspect you are going to get a pirate disease. Or that's what the mainstream media, who is constantly trying to get you scared, and there's even a bit of conspiracy involved in this one, potentially, allegedly, is saying in this very video. But don't worry, we are going to dispel a lot of the sort of myths and rumors that they're talking about. We'll give some solutions here because, of course, the mainstream media decides to lie to us, and the complete misrepresentation from the beginning of the video is just so apparent. So let's get into it.
Grocery shoppers, when you're out in the aisles, you are hearing about and talking about price increases and bracing for more as the U.S. tariff war heats up. Loblaw recently confirmed it would be raising prices on items as soon as they're hit with tariffs. The company calls the measures inflationary and a tax on consumers, and it's working with government to exempt key products, but says higher prices are unavoidable with higher costs on imports.
Okay, from the very beginning, the way she worded it is, oh, these U.S. tariffs are going to increase the prices on the Canadian products. Well, guess what? It's the Canadian tariffs that are actually increasing that. So calling it like the U.S. trade war and Trump's trade war, yes, Trump has, made these statements about instituting these tariffs and these other things, which I guess you could say instigated it. But all of the price increases would be Canadian government has put tariffs on American products that would be coming over the border, which would be paid by you, Canadians. So that would be coming out of your pockets. And again, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail later on. Is that even happening?
And all of that could have collateral damage, a collateral impact on something we're going to talk about this morning with Dr. Christopher Labos, who, of course, is an epidemiologist and cardiologist in Montreal and our guest on this Monday. It's good to see you, Dr. Labos. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Dr. Labos has written a piece, a very timely piece that appears in the Montreal Gazette tomorrow about the health impacts of the Trump tariffs. And we're going to spend some time going over what you've written about, Dr. Labos. I really appreciate it. Your piece begins this way: an unintended impact of the tariff war with the U.S. could be on our health. Tariffs, as I was just talking about, they're expected to increase the price of food. What is your concern, medically speaking?
I think the big concern, the concern that a lot of people have is we are already seeing a problem in this country where it is hard to eat healthy. It is expensive to eat healthy. Anybody who's been grocery shopping recently has seen the reality of that. We live in a world where junk food is cheaper than healthy food.
Okay, let's just stop quickly because the tariffs didn't exist before and grocery prices were going up. Now, why were they going up? Could it potentially have been the carbon tax, which goes up on April 1st, which is actually proven to increase grocery prices? Something that, again, is instituted by the Canadian government and has nothing to do with the U.S. and their U.S. trade war. So we have factual proof that the carbon tax increases prices on groceries, and we're seeing it in the grocery stores before this, but now we're worried about the tariffs, because that's going to be what really pushes Canadians over the line. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing, we really have to eliminate this "it's easier to eat junk food than it is to eat healthy food" statement. Yes, grocery prices have gone up. Another factor is, of course, demand. Canadian demand on food prices has gone up because the unprecedented immigration levels, population growth. Same things happen in the U.S. because they obviously have their own issues there with those things. That's one factor. It's a nuanced problem. There's multiple factors. But bags of chips now are $4.99, $5.99. That's the same price as a pound of ground beef or a pound of ground chicken, whatever you want to buy. So you can get one bag of chips, or you can get a pound of ground beef, which can feed 2, maybe 3 people, depending on how you kind of mix it into your meal or whatever. So one bag of unhealthy chips or a pound of ground beef. Which one is the healthier and more affordable option, which is going to get you more full, more food, and make meals out of?
And my worry is that the tariffs, especially if they start applying to fresh fruits and vegetables, of which we get a lot from the U.S., not exclusively, but a big deal, If those start to become even more expensive, it is going to make healthy food essentially unaffordable for a large segment of the Canadian population. And that's going to have very negative impacts on our health because
Yeah, a lot of these strawberries are going to be Canadian strawberries, or they're from like Mexico or Argentina or other places like that. So, I mean, I'm just using strawberries because it paused there. But yes, we do get some produce from the US. A lot of it comes from South America, especially in the winter months. But hey, there's a lot of Canadian products out there too.
we talk about the importance of being healthy and eating healthy and having healthy lifestyle factors. But it's not just a question of the will to do so. We forget that a lot of people eat junk food because they frankly just can't afford to eat healthy food on a day-to-day basis.
Again, you know, that's not even a full bag of chips. That's like a single little serving of chips for 99 cents. Like, you don't need to buy that to fill up.
And your article reminds us of when this can go to the extreme point, because we've already talked in the past year about the resurgence of scurvy, of all things, because of vitamin C deficiency. Is that the kind of thing that you could see happening and existing more frequently?
Yeah, and I think it's going to shock a lot of people to know that we are seeing cases of scurvy. And, we are not 18th century British sailors fighting Napoleon. Like, there is no reason why a Canadian in this day and age should be suffering from scurvy. So people who don't know what scurvy is a disease that you get when you have vitamin C deficiency. And it was very common amongst British sailors because they were out at sea for months eating nothing but hardtack without any access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And the problem was resolved famously when the British Navy started giving out lime juice, or putting lime juice in the beer that they would give to their sailors. You do not get scurvy if you have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, citrus fruits that have vitamin C in it. So the fact that we are seeing scurvy means that there are people out there that just cannot or are not eating an adequate amount of
Lemons, product of South Africa, right in this very shot. So, the South African tariffs that we're putting on, that definitely has the reason why we're not able to buy lemons. I already have a problem with them talking about you need citrus fruits to get your vitamin C. There's a bunch of ways to get vitamin C. One of them is apples. Yes, apples themselves are not like the number one vitamin C fruit. They do include vitamin C, enough to avoid you getting scurvy. Like, if a little lime juice in some beer is going to stop people from getting scurvy, have an apple. You'll be okay. There's a reason why they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I'm a big apples guy. Shout out to ambrosia. If you're a Honeycrisp person, you're overrated. You got to get the ambrosias. That being said, apples, broccoli, strawberries, other berries, like all sorts of things have vitamin C. We don't need to get lemons from South Africa. Do you guys realize how far South Africa is from us? So, Canada doesn't naturally have lemons and limes. Like, they don't grow here. So obviously we made it work before you could get access to lemons and limes. I'm not saying prices aren't going up. What I am saying is you can easily eat healthy enough to avoid a pirate disease. If you feel like you're at risk of scurvy, go to your local No Frills and buy a bag of apples. They've got their naturally imperfect apples. They're always like $5.99 for 6 pounds. That's $1 for a pound of apples. That's going to get, kids' lunches taken care of. That's going to be able to get you some apples in there too. And now you can avoid the pirate disease. So, like, this is so hyperbolic. And so this is why I think there's a bit of conspiracy involved here. One, they want people, scared that you can't afford to eat healthy. Well, I'll buy the cheaper frozen stuff. And again, it's not that even cheap. You go to buy a frozen pizza now, they're $8.99, $9.99, $11.99 for frozen pizzas. That's not cheaper than buying 2 pounds of ground beef with rice and apples and all of these other things, that you can get. Like, I eat a lot of ground chicken in my meals. I eat a lot of ground beef in my meals. I know for a fact the ground chicken is $5.99 a pound that I get. So, and that you can make 2 meals out of that. So there's, $3 a meal plus the rice plus the other things. It's like, you can eat for less than $10 a day for an adult male in Canada right now. If you're really down bad, you can get yourself some rice, some lentils, a little bit of tuna, and then just some apples or whatever you want to do on the side, some broccoli, some other things that are cheap enough where it's like, well, I'm down bad, but that is going to cover pretty much all of the nutrients you're going to need with just those few things alone.
Fruit. And if we're going to get to the point where fruit becomes too expensive and inaccessible to people,
Product of Mexico. Product of Mexico.
we might, in a very extreme case, start seeing cases like scurvy, which is almost unthinkable. Now, the less extreme case is just as bad, that when people are eating unhealthy food, we're going to see more heart disease and more cancer, more of these chronic diseases that are out there. And we often talk about the importance of lifestyle factors. Well, this is where the rubber hits the road. We have to make sure that it's not just about educating people about the importance of eating healthy. It's making sure that once we educate them, they actually have the economic power to go to the grocery store and buy that food.
Yeah, educating people on eating healthy. Do we think that this video is helping by scaring people, telling them that it's more expensive to eat healthy than it is to eat less healthy? Is this educating? Is this helping? Is this providing solutions? Or is this potentially causing fear and division along classes, along political views? Because this is where I think a bit of the quote unquote political conspiracy comes in, because what we've seen is this direct attack on the US, on Trump, all of these things from the Canadian media. And now we've got all these mount up patriots, these like fake patriots who, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, could not have cared what Canada was doing. But now they're big Canadian patriots all of a sudden speaking up. And what we've seen is they go, oh, well, Pierre's basically Trump. And if Pierre's Trump, then that means that we have to vote for Mark Carney. Mark Carney is the father of the carbon tax. They already put out the fake news that he's going to be cutting the carbon tax. He's not. He's passing it on to the industrial sector, which means it's going to get passed on to Canadians as well. So yes, we see this conspiracy of them trying to spin it like this is Trump's trade war. No, it's the Canadian tariffs that would raise our prices. 2, Pierre's Trump, so don't vote for him because it's the same guy. So you got to go vote for Mark Carney, even though he's a pro-immigration guy which obviously, as we know, impacts the living crisis. And then he is a huge carbon tax guy. He's the father of it. He basically created it. So.
And let's talk about economic power, because again, in your piece, you make the point your socioeconomic status is a major predictor of health outcomes. We already know that. So that reality could be exacerbated in a situation where food prices are going up and up. So what that signals, does it not, Dr. Labos, is those who are lower socioeconomic status, those who are more vulnerable, those Canadians could be disproportionately affected in this tariff war.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you and I will probably be okay, right? If you have a certain, income, you might, end up paying more for eggs or paying more for milk or paying more for bread, but, you'll swallow the cost, you'll grumble a little bit, but you will be able to do that. We sometimes forget that there are a lot of people in this country that are living essentially paycheck to paycheck that do not have any room in their budgets. There was a report last year that said that in 2023, 1 in 5 Canadian families suffered from food insecurity, which means, they did not have a stable source of food on a day-to-day basis, a stable source of healthy food. If 1 in 5 Canadian families is suffering from food insecurity in this country, that's a problem, and that's something that could only get worse because a lot of people might be fine, but they don't have that much wiggle room in their budgets. And if this tariff war really increases prices, and if it drags on for an extended period of time, a lot of people at the lower socioeconomic status might actually start suffering quite a bit.
Okay, Canadians have been struggling with food prices and living cost issues for the last few years, some even before that. So to say that this tariff war is going to be, the main issue, when again, I talked all about the, carbon tax and other things that are bringing the prices up. Obviously, like I said, rents are going up, house prices are going up, all of these things, which is a demand issue. The demand being, millions of immigrants coming in per year who otherwise shouldn't be here, especially the scammers. But the fact that, they're going to try and blame we can't get lemons and limes in from the US at an affordable rate when we've already seen there weren't even products from the US in this exact video. It's just insane to me. Like, one of the biggest things is people who are paycheck to paycheck, lower socioeconomic status, don't have the time to necessarily look into, yes, like you said, nutritional education. So it's often like they're busy, they have kids, they're working, they have all these things, and they just see a title that goes, oh yeah, they watch this quick video. Oh, I can't afford to eat healthy. I got to try and buy the cheaper, less expensive stuff, and then that's going to be less healthy. Like, there's so many solutions on how you can eat healthy for affordable prices, even with families and stuff. So seeing them try to blame Trump, which again then falls on Pierre because he's the huge Trump guy, and now we can mount up patriots from Mark Carney.
And if that indeed is the problem, what are the solutions that you would propose to policymakers? We need an immediate term ideas here.
So the problem of high food prices is not a new one. It's been going on for a while. The tariffs have the very real potential to make it worse. But globally speaking, there's two sorts of ways that you can approach this problem if you want to nudge people towards healthier food. You either make the junk food more expensive or you make the healthier food less expensive. So you make the junk food more expensive with something like a sugar tax. And so other jurisdictions have tried this. Philadelphia, most notably, has done research on this. And sugar taxes are effective in the same way that tobacco taxes and alcohol taxes are effective. They drive people away from the junk food towards the healthier food. The problem with sugar taxes, while it's good in that they increase government revenue, they are themselves inherently inflationary in that they raise prices to try to minimize the price differential, right, but they don't solve the underlying problem of everything being too expensive. The other way is
Don't worry, guys. The Montreal doctor is wanting more taxes so people can eat healthier. That's the solution. We need more government intervention, more taxes. It's not that the carbon tax is already there, making things worse across the board. Let's put in some more taxes. That's what the government needs. Actually, you know what? Canadians don't pay enough.
Sort of subsidy program either to farmers or to consumers to bring down the cost of food. And there are various examples of this in both Canada and in the US. The SNAP program in the US is a famous example, where you can subsidize people to go out and get healthy food if they are on a fixed income. So it's not as if we need new solutions. These programs exist. We just have to fund them and expand them and realize that we're getting into a situation where this is not so much the exception, but becoming increasingly the rule for a very large segment of our population.
I have no idea where CBC finds these people, because his solutions are more taxes or more government spending. Well, guess what? We already have a problem with government intervention on our internal trade between provinces because of all of the different rules and legislations. We have our own tariffs between provinces, and like dairy is a big one that should be so much cheaper than it is. We've got the dairy cartel that runs things, and that's because of things happening inside of Canada. So to see this happen, where it's like, okay, guys, sure, yeah, that's going to help. We'll keep the tariffs on, and then we'll just tax the hey, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. I didn't even put that in, but don't forget to like and subscribe. But yeah, we'll put more taxes on, or we can have the government spend more money, and that will really help us. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning into the video. If you made it this far in the video, you absolutely rock, and have a great rest of your day.